What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. I'm once again joined by Degenerate Jay. Jay, thank you so much. I think by the time everybody's seeing all these videos, it's been like a stretch of 2 or 3 days that we've had you on the channel, so I really do appreciate having you here. And in this video, we're going to be predicting the Miles Morales review scores. You guys may have seen I do this for a lot of movies, a lot of games, and it's gotten to that time. Miles obviously comes out. I think by the time you guys see this in just like a week and a half, we're very, very close to the PlayStation releasing and all that stuff. So it's going to get very fast and very furious over the next little while, and we're excited to talk Miles. So again, Jay, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. I saw the little Fast and Furious reference you did there. Your wife is going to catch that and hear about it, so I just wanted you to know that ahead of time.
Right, she's already told me I can't watch those films at home, so I don't even know what to do anymore, honestly. So really quickly, if you guys are not already subscribed to Jay, make sure you do that. I'm going to leave all this stuff, his main channel, his Let's Play channel, both of which extremely good. Does a lot of different stuff just like I do. I'll leave that in the description and the pinned comment. And so Jay, well, my God, Miles. So I've been pretty upfront with my opinions on Miles, not really afraid to say that it obviously has some sort of very scary following that doesn't say anything negative. But I'm not calling, I've made videos with Evan. He's an amazing guy. I'm not even saying he does that, but I do think in general, Miles does have maybe a little bit of a thing with it where, it can do no harm. And I don't think Evan thinks that. I don't think a lot of people actually think that. Miles, and I've said this before, we've done this. I've done this on Crash. I've done this review predicting thing for quite a few games. I look at Miles in the same way I look at Crash and maybe a few other ones, but Crash is the biggest one that comes to mind because of how safe it is. And by safe, I do not mean that in any. By the way, I don't mean that bad at all. And I don't think Miles, by the way, is going to be a bad game. I think it's actually going to be a super amazing game. I just don't know if it's going to be the greatest game of all time. Crash, to me, leading into it, was this is a game that feels very safe. It's going to do most likely all the right things. It really is in no danger of being a bad game. That's pretty much what I mean by safe. Not that it's so safe that it's bad, but just that I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? It's like a slam dunk. It's going to be a good game. To me, Crash is, I think, my third favorite game of the year. I adore that game. It's so I encourage you. No sponsorship, nothing like that. But you should get Crash. So Miles, I really do think is the same thing. You're getting a PS5, or if you're not, even if you're not, Miles, Demon Souls, I think is if you like Demon Souls, the original, or you like the Souls games, I think Demon Souls is honestly a very safe game where, can it range from being great to amazing? Yeah, but is it going to be bad? I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to sway that far. So Miles, I think it's the same thing. I think, and we'll talk about, the actual review, our predictions of it. The original Spider-Man 2018 got an 87 on Metacritic, okay? And like I always say, by the way, make your own decisions. Obviously, it's nothing wrong with listening to somebody else or hearing them out, but I don't go based off review scores. I buy my games based off of me viewing them. So, Jay, as a quick little preview thing, and then we'll get into maybe the breaking down of the scores, how do you feel about this game? What do you think may be the strengths of it? What do you think could be the weaknesses? And then we'll go, later on in this video, we'll start to break down the review scores.
Yeah, the whole time you were talking about this, I was trying to think of how I would say it, especially because I never want anything I say to reflect negatively on you or your channel. Like we've said before, whenever one of us says anything, it's just our opinion. You shouldn't take it super personally. But the thing with some of the crowd behind Miles Morales is I think people have a very deep emotional connection to this character.
Right.
So, for example, this is really, I don't really know the correct terminology, but this is one of the, superheroes of color in gaming that you are able to play as that appears to be done competently and with heart. So it does stand to reason that there will be people behind that who identify with that thing that are going to be more defensive of it or more emotionally invested in it being good. And I think that's natural and it makes sense. I do think it's important that people are willing to accept if there are any issues with the game, though, because I want Miles Morales to have a good lasting legacy in gaming. I really like this character. I was actually not on board with him when Brian Michael Bendis introduced him in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. And over time, I've really come to love him. He's amazing in Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen that is a great introductory film to get you into this character. And I think that people need to, while loving this, also be open to if it has any problems. We don't want to give any developer, whether it's Insomniac, Square Enix, Activision, anything. We don't want to give any of them an excuse to just put out something because they know we'll accept it because of one part of it, whether that's the character it features or anything like that. So that's what concerns me, because I've seen Evan, even anytime he says anything negative about any of these games, it's like a lot of people get mad at him.
Right.
But if he says something nice about them, people are happy. And I think it's like if you love this, you should want to hear, what could be better or what people think, because that will only improve the game. That's kind of my intro thoughts. Did that even answer the question that you asked me?
Oh yeah, well, and just what you generally think the positives and negatives of the game are going to be. But before you do that, yeah, I definitely want to back Jay up. I think he's right. And look, I'm not telling you can't be. I mean, you could be as excited to the moon and back. It doesn't really matter. I even said this to Jay, off the recording. I know I love things that I love Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End is my favorite movie of all time. Now, if I told that to a test audience, how many you think would agree with me? Nobody. But it's something I'm passionate about. And, do I know that there's weaknesses, stuff like that? Of course. But I love it. I love it to death. Scream is not everybody's favorite movie, but I love that thing more than I love a lot of things on this earth, right? It's completely up to you. I think Jay and I both kind of operate on that idea that we're all individuals and we can all, we can disagree with each other, but we're kind of in it in the same fight. And that's, I think, what Jay was saying too, where it's like you can love Miles 10 times more than me, and that's completely cool, but we're all in the boat of we want the game to be good, and we want the game, and if there's problems, we need to call it out, because you know what, Spider-Man 2 is coming, and it's only going to if you don't call things out, it's only going to get worse. You see it with movies, you see it with television, you see it with games. It's not a recipe for success. So just to clarify that as well. But very good thoughts, Jay.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and part of that too is that as someone who really likes Miles, this is not a full length game. I mean, it is a standalone full length game, but they've said it's much shorter than the original Spider-Man and likely than the sequel will be. And I guarantee you that there will be either a sequel where you switch between Miles and Peter and have your own stories that are interconnected eventually, or a full-length Spider-Man game just about Miles that is as long or longer than the original. I guarantee that one of those will happen, if not both. And if this is sort of the test audience game for that, where it's like, hey, this is the beginnings and the bones and the groundwork of that. We want those bones to be as strong and healthy as possible moving into it, so that people don't just look back at Miles Morales and say, hey, that's the game Insomniac made to make Miles Morales fans happy. And that's all they say about it. I think we want it to be as special as the original Spider-Man. I think everyone wants that, not to speak for him. I think, though, that whenever Evan says anything that might be construed negative, I'm sure that's what he wants as a major fan. That's what we want as major fans of these characters. And I do kind of wish that more people would get on board with that level of criticism of wanting the best thing because you love it, not excusing everything because you love it. That's what worries me about any of the games that we cover, is that people are so into them that they just want the game to exist no matter how good or bad it is.
Right.
So that is to clarify my own thoughts. I think that overall so far, the game itself, I think there's a lot of amazing details. You can even see too, I was watching some of the footage of it, Miles swings differently than Peter because he's not as used to it. He is not as boastful in his movements. He is not as acrobatic because he's more not scared, but getting used to swinging. You can see him kind of flailing around sometimes when he swings, which is definitely a very interesting thing because this is a beginning young Spider-Man. And even though he's not as acrobatic as when he's swinging, he's extremely acrobatic when dodging and punching because he is younger. He's like a very young man, even compared to Peter, which stands to reason that he would move a little differently, be a little more slender. I think so far, a lot of the movement and combat and everything, it looks really amazing to me. I just, to tie that back into my opening statement, it's more just, even though I think this is amazing, I definitely don't, fall into the category of people who think that no matter what it comes out as, that I'm fine with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I know you could maybe take it as a little bit negative, but I think this game, like I said, safe. I think it's going to be actually a really, the thing that this game has, the thing that Demon Souls has, I think that actually a lot of the launch day PS5, even though this is, not just a PS5 game, but is that they're not just tech demos. And I think that in the past, right, Killzone Shadowfall, Resogun was, to my heart, it was way more than a tech demo. But, in general, they were to show things off. And Miles is too. I mean, look, that the bridge scene, don't think for a second that they didn't put that in there for looks and to catch people's eyes, because that's what they did. But it's a lot more than that. And I think that that's what's going to make this game, from like even a review perspective, I think that's what's going to make it stand out. This game is probably going, I think it's going to be a very safe, really good game where I know day one when I get my PS5, I'm putting this in it and I'm ready to go. I know I'm going to get a fantastic experience. Honestly, same thing with Demon's Souls. A game like Godfall, a game like Sackboy, you don't know as much. Even a game like Call of Duty or Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, you don't know. They can really swing very far either way. But Miles, there should be an expectation this is going to be a good game. Okay, there should be that. But with that being said, how high will it be? Here's what I'll say. So I'll give my review predictions. I'll let Jay do his after. I think this game, we give ourselves like a 3-4. It could be whatever range you want. I'm going to say this game is going to do better, going to get higher up than the original Spider-Man. Again, the original Spider-Man got an 87. I will say this will get an 8.8 to a 9.1. That's the range I'll give. And I'll give it because I do think this game can do some really amazing things. I think the combat and, like Jay said, even like the traversal and small details. I mean, let's not joke. The ray tracing and small things like that will elevate it. And don't think for a second the PS5 and the DualSense controller will not elevate this game. The game is going to be helped, I think, massively. And that's kind of what you always have to think about, by the way, when especially launch day games, is how do they stand up later? Killzone Shadowfall at the time, you could say, was insane, incredible, the best looking game on consoles, all that stuff. Now talk about it. What do you think about it now? Well, it's been 7 years, and it's actually a very mediocre game now, okay? So that's the gloss that next-gen consoles can give, and I haven't looked up the scores for Killzone Shadowfall, but I'm going to assume they're actually reasonably high. I'll just predict that, and we'll find it later. So Miles, I think, could be the same thing. Again, not to get too negative on it, but I do think it's going to be helped big time by what the PS... Now, will they review it on PS4 and PS5? Will those reviews be different? Yeah, but I honestly feel like a lot of people will be pulled to the PS5 version, or at least the reviews for the PS5. They'll see the DualSense. They'll see ray tracing. They'll see those small details. They're all going to be good. We know, I mean, there's just no debating that it'll be good. The story, that can sway. Where's that going to land? It could be really good. It could be pretty average and could kind of be like, well, we want to get you used to playing as Miles, but the story may not be able to deliver. Those are the things I'm worried about. Ultimately, though, I'll give them the vote of confidence that I think that they will be able to pull it off, and I'll say those extra couple points are because of the next-gen stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I do think one thing that potentially could hold the game back is something a lot of PS4 owners are happy about, which is the fact that it is on PS4.
Yeah.
I know you got some pushback.
Don't get into that, Jay. I'm trying to save you.
Never mind. Well, no, I mean, I do think it's worth mentioning that I am glad that this is accessible to more people, but whenever you're creating a game, you have to create it for the lowest common denominator of hardware as well, and then kind of work up from there. So it depends on how well they're able to optimize this for, the end years of the PlayStation 4 compared to the launch of the PlayStation 5, and how big those adjustments are between the two versions. Now, I think looking at how well Spider-Man has held up, being one of the only people who has criticized anything from it, just not to toot my own horn, but like I have, 5 things that I thought it did wrong or could have done better that really made a lot of people mad, actually, believe it or not. I think a lot of people really have clung on to that game being amazing, and I think it has held up well from being sort of a middle of this generation game. And so I guess the question then comes back to how I think this will do as a beginning of PS5 generation game, like you said. I think that moving into the review scores for me, just so I don't drag out your video by continually talking about nothing, I think that this game, because Spider-Man PS4 was at about 87-ish, I think, I would not be surprised if this hit 90, if this hit between 86 and 90 or 87 and 91. That's kind of my prediction. And I say that for a few reasons. One, it does, being careful here in how I say it, I don't want to say check boxes, but it does kind of satisfy a need that some people have had of seeing Miles as a different type of character that they don't normally see represent the superhero community or maybe their own community. I think that is already a positive in terms of how it will be received right there 100% at the beginning. I think the luster of next gen will also push that a little bit and help. I think that the fine details we talked about, Miles Morales playing a little differently than Peter, and how that will tie into it will help a little bit. So I really wouldn't be surprised to see a 91 out of this thing, but that's just kind of where I'm at. And I could be wrong, but especially because it's also supposedly short and sweet, which can really also help review scores.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be you get in, you experience it. It's all in one very nice package, and you get in, you get out, and it's just a really good experience. And again, like a must-play PS5 thing, stuff like that. Those are things I think we're going to be seeing, around the gaming journal, like the IGNs, Kotakus of the world. I do think this game is going to, and again, we've been critical on it, and it's odd, right? Because we're kind of being critical on a game that's more widely looked at as being good and has gotten higher scores. We just don't want to get, again, carried away, I think. And I think every game needs a little bit of that criticism, and I'm sure this game is going to have issues, and the real telling points are people going to, I'm sure you and me will, but are other people going to talk about them, and where does that lead? So I think we're spot on. I really do think this game is going to get definitely in the high 8s at the absolute lowest. So let us know in the comments below, guys, what do you think the review score is going to be for Miles? Jay, thank you so much for joining. You've been on this one. We also did Call of Duty yesterday, and we actually did a variety YouTube kind of discussion. So you've been on all sorts of stuff, and again, to kind of plug his stuff, he does this stuff as well on his own. Phenomenal guy, a great guy, and a great channel. So Jay, I really appreciate you being on. We keep trying to do different videos, even with each other when we're together, and you always step up to the plate. So thanks so much for being on.
Well, yeah, hey, thank you very much for having me here. I always love having you on my channel as well. You bring a different perspective and rein me in a little bit as well, which is a good thing sometimes. So I appreciate, being here. Thank you very much.
No, I've never wrung anybody. I'm always the one that talks nonstop. But thank you so much, guys. Check out his stuff in the description, in the pinned comment. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be doing more Miles stuff over the next coming weeks. Hopefully, we'll have that sweet monster PS5 launch day, and we will go from there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.